I really think that people which are not interested about that today will be in trouble in 5, 10, 15 years. But I think in the world of tomorrow, when nobody will be using the search of Google that we use today, right? Or asking to anyone, that will be so convenient, right? To say, oh, I'm going to an event or I'm going to travel, etc. But sometimes you have to provide what the customer doesn't know that he wants. And of course, with competition, you have no choice. But in UAE, extremely fast delivery is super important. But I'm convinced also that a lot of people using AI will be replacing a lot of people not using AI. This I'm also convinced about that, and not in 15 years, in the next 2-3 years.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of SleekTalks UAE. I'm very excited to start this journey with you. It is a space where we'll explore how industry leaders think, learn, and of course, how they innovate to create an amazing customer experience. So with me today, a very special person. I've personally attended many events where he was a speaker, and I was very inspired by his storytelling techniques and skills. But I just have a little favor from you first. His name is French, so I want to give our audience the favor of hearing it directly from him. So if you can introduce yourself and a bit about your background.
So thank you so much for the opportunity. Actually, that's a great opportunity for me because I'm meeting a lot of suppliers and people in the industry. And I can see that it's very difficult for them to pronounce my first name. So French class lesson, my first name is pronounced Aurélien. Very difficult because there is songs that you find only in French. But please, if you come to me, don't hesitate to misspell my first name. It's okay, no offense. I'm used to that since 15 years. So my name is Aurélien. I'm 37. I'm a proud father of 3 beautiful girls. And I'm working in technology and in retail since a little bit more than 4 years in the region. Prior to that, I was a consultant. I worked for many big four and big integration company like Accenture and PwC. And I was implementing a technology solution for clients all over the world. Since 4 years and a half, I work for Chalhube Group, which is a creator of luxury experience in the region, in the GCC, with also investment in company in France and in Latin America. And as a director of a business solution for all our joint venture, I'm trying to be the bridge between all our shared services, mainly focused on omnichannel technology and operation, and all our different joint venture maisons, which are divided in fashion, beauty, but more recently in eyewear, jewelry, and also luxury tech with the Vialet and Dyson of this world, for example. That's me in a nutshell.
Thank you, Aurélien. I want to give our audience more of a context of your background. So if it's possible to share, when was the point where you became actually passionate about bridging technology and omnichannel customer experience as well?
So I really think that I was always passionate about technology. It came back when I was very young, like a long time ago. I was a big fan of video games, and I was super interested about computer. And at that time, when you had a computer, you were very happy. When you had the internet connection, you were very happy. But I was always really interested on how any human behavior and human action could be translated into programming and different steps in the technology. And of course, I was born in 1988, so I've seen a huge switch when it comes to digital and transformation with internet, with the email, the network, etc. And as a digital native, I was super interested with all of this stuff and following that. And then very early in my career, I was exposed to what we call ERP, which stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. And I was exposed to a big ERP like SAP and Oracle. And that was not the most attracting part of any business, right? To learn how to translate into digital and technology, how to do purchase order and sales order and accounting reconciliation. But at the end, I really think that the technology remains a tool. And the most important part of everything that we do, it's the people which are underneath, right? It's process, it's people, it's change, it's adoption. Mm-hmm. And today it's technology. Before it was something else. Maybe tomorrow it will be something else. But I think that the disruption which is coming is not as important as the different interaction you can have with the people. I think that human being, whatever your gender, where you're coming from, etc., makes the excitement behind all this kind of journey. And then in my realm, right? Since 4.5 years, I'm really specialized in retail tech, digital tech, e-commerce, and so on and so forth. And of course, everything related to Martech with the marketing and the customer. And I really find it exciting to connect the dot. I think that's what makes the thing extremely interesting in my own world, is to get a 360 view and advance, right? And having some of the technology which are helping you at the end of the day to go to the next level and the next phases of the experience you can provide to your customers.
I love that. That's very inspiring, and it makes more sense now. Now I think we have a better idea on how your career was shaped, but I'm curious to understand also, as a leader, whether in your company, in different aspects, how do you balance between being a technologist and a customer-centric as well?
I think the best reference I had coming to my mind with this question is a very famous speech that Steve Jobs was doing right in the 90s. When he was saying, let's not start with the product, let's start with the customer and work backwards to build the best product. I think that a lot of people are pretending to be customer-centric, but if you don't start with a customer, that's not something that's going to happen. And that's really an opportunity for anyone to start with the customer, to leave the ego of, I want to work on this best technology, or I want really to have this project which is done. Because at the end of the day, right, we are doing things that we need to measure, right? We need to have a tangible ROI on everything that we do. Otherwise, you don't have neither the sponsorship from your company, neither the budget, and then you're working just for the beauty of the art, but there's nothing tangible which is coming, and then it's even for the team, it's not something which is motivating. So I think that it always has to start with the customer, whatever you're a B2B or a B2C organization, and really trying to understand what kind of pain points, what kind of challenge, what kind of enhanced experience I want to provide to this customer. I think that's the key. And unfortunately, sometimes, even now as a leader, it's not like you can take all the decisions that you want. So that asks a lot of communication skills, influential skills, a lot of passions also sometimes, to be able to prove or convince or try some of the different things you think will be important when it comes to customer experience. And I think that also it requires an organization which is having a lot of servant leader at the top, but not only a top management within an organization which is willing to test, willing to learn, willing to fail. And that's for me the key game changer I've seen working with my own company and also with other company which are either partners or that were my client when I was a consultant.
Especially, as you mentioned, so in the UAE, it's a very fast-paced environment. I'd love to hear from your perspective, speaking specifically about omnichannel, what a seamless omnichannel looks like for you from a customer experience perspective as well.
Piggybacking on the previous question, right? In the region, I think that as of today, we don't have a strong maturity when it comes to smooth and seamless omnichannel experience. Everybody pretends to be omnichannel, but I think that we are far to be really omnichannel. And I think that also a lot of people misunderstand the concept of omnichannel and think that it's only a technological move, while it's much more than that. For example, a lot of companies now are implementing an OMS, an order management system. And in retail, it means that you can fulfill from your warehouse, but you can also fulfill from different stores. So it means that you have a much bigger OTB when it comes of available stock. And then you can better fulfill the promise for any of your customer. So don't misunderstand me, right? An OMS is extremely important, but that's not the core of omnichannel experience. And a lot of people will take some key processes like click and collect, ship from store, ship from warehouse. But I think they miss the point. If you ask me, right, what is omnichannel? And coming back to the previous definition that happened in the year, right? So single channel, I have a website, I'm selling to a client. I have a store, I'm selling to a client. Multi-channel, I have a website from where I can sell anything to a client, and I have also in parallel a store, right? But those are not communicating. Then we have the cross channel. Oh, I can order on the website, but then collect from the store or ship from the store. Or I can go to a store and I can order online with someone if it's not available. But for me, omnichannel is a complete change of paradigm, because if we really want to be omnichannel, and I've heard a lot of very buzzword about that. I was speaking at one event and they were mentioning unified commerce. But for me, the most important is that we really try to get agnostic of the channel. That for me is the next stage. Mm-hmm. And honestly, even in Europe, even in the Western world, which is way more advanced than the region when it comes to e-commerce, because e-commerce really started in GCC in 2020 with COVID, when all the stores were closing, etc. Well, if you see Amazon and other similar websites, they're existing since many more years. So the maturity is definitely different. But for me, the most important, if you really want to be omnichannel and have an omnichannel strategy and vision, it means that you're agnostic of the channel. The only thing which matters for you is the customer. So you put the customer as everything that you do and you want. It means, of course, strong data behind, strong understanding of your customer with segmentation, with targeting, with patterns, to really understand from a customer standpoint, who is your customer, mm-hmm. when you have all the information related to this unique customer, but also all the understanding of the different purchasing transactions, whatever the channels. How many times he came to this store, how many times he was bought online, what was the AOV, what was the UPT, and comparing these different metrics from an channel standpoint. And then tomorrow we might have new channels that today doesn't exist, right? So we have the e-commerce, we have the store, we have some clienteling solutions like SleekFlow, for example. We have WhatsApp, which is a channel today for some of the retailers. We have TikTok, right, with the live now, which is also a channel. But maybe tomorrow, and for sure tomorrow, by using DeepSeek or ChatGPT or Google Gemini, I will be able to buy directly from the prompt. So of course, this is coming with complexity, with the payment, etc. But we will get there, and sooner than later, we know that. Mm-hmm. So that will be again a new channel. Doesn't mean that you have to change your whole strategy, because if you are channel agnostic, it means that you understand that your customer is at the center of everything that you do. Mm-hmm. This is driving your approach, right? And of course, according to your positioning, luxury, FMCG, etc., you will have a different tactics and strategy. But once you understand your customer and you can really segment them, you have an omni-channel marketing strategy to be able to reach to them. And then whatever the channel, you want to make sure that the customer will have the same experience. Mm-hmm. If you can do that, it means you have a real omnichannel experience that you can provide to your customer. I didn't see that yet, but I think that's the North Star that all the retailers in the region and in the world should think to reach.
See, I was interested when you mentioned that a lot of people are confused when it comes to the real meaning of omnichannel. If you can give it like a different word, what would you call it? Something simpler for people to grab it?
But I think omnichannel is not is not the wrong word. I think the understanding is different, right? But for me the most important is that omni is super important. Okay. But channel is less important, right? We want to be channel agnostic. We want to focus on the customer experience. Ultimately, of course, we want to focus on the sales and making sure that you're maximizing the sale and that the customer is having the best experience. So I think that's the next step, which is with removing the channel of the word.
That's interesting. You were talking about UAE market, and I know that in Chalhube you have different brands operating in UAE, but also outside of UAE. And of course, with your career, you also had experience outside of UAE. So I'd love to know if you noticed some differences when it comes to omnichannel between UAE, MENA market, and other markets as well. Like, what do you think would be the differences?
So I will take a very easy example. I will just compare UAE and KSA. Mm-hmm. So the omnichannel strategy can be very similar from one country to another, especially if we summarize omnichannel strategy as high level to be, let's be channel agnostic and focus on the customer. But then definitely your UAE customer are very different from the Saudi customer. Mm-hmm. In UAE, you have 90% of expats. You have a lot of tourists, right? So you have to take all of this into consideration in your different strategy. In KSA, so here in UAE, it's 10 million people. in KSA, it's almost 40 million, with 70% of locals and 30% of expat, with some codes which are obviously different. In UAE being 90%, we are having a lot of diversity, which is less the case in Saudi. Plus in Saudi, you have two of the main holy cities for Islam in the world. You have to take that into consideration. You have the Arabic language, which is much more important in Saudi. And when I say the Arabic language, it's not only to have a website which is in Arabic and in English, for example. It's really a tone of voice, which is extremely important to have, and where you have to be extremely careful in the choice of the word, especially in Arabic, where the language is very complex and large. So definitely there is. You can have one strategic vision to say, I want to eliminate the different channels which are in that I'm having, right? And I just want to focus on my customer. But then it's super important, right, that to take into consideration what your customer wants. And that's a game changer. Then in UAE and KSA, we have a lot of similarity because all of us here, we live in UAE. If you want to get something in less than 15 minutes, you know that you will get it through noon, for example, right? So us at Chalhube, we implemented the 2 hours delivery in Dubai and in Riyadh because the reality is that it's very important for those customers to have that. And that's funny also because sometimes you have to provide what the customer wants, but sometimes you have to provide what the customer doesn't know that he wants. And of course, with competition, you have no choice. But in UAE, extremely fast delivery is super important, and we have to go into this direction, which is not the case in Europe, right? You were mentioning to me before with other markets. In France, it's totally fine to have a next day delivery. Yeah. Nobody will complain about that, right? Nobody is asking to have something which is coming to his place in 1 hour, 2 hours. And the setup of life is also very different. You don't have a nanny, right? You're all the day at work. Sometimes you don't want to receive something at work. You prefer to have it at home. So you will prefer to have something at night, on the evening or on the weekend, or leave it in front of the door. If I'm not there, which is not in fact the case, because in Europe, if you leave something in front of your door, unlikely in Dubai, you have a high chance that you will not see it. But yes, so just to answer to the question, I think that the omnichannel strategy as a high-level concept needs to be the same. But I mentioned that you have to put the customer at the center of what you do. So of course, right, you have to really understand your customer. And if there is high specificities from one country to another, from one city to another, that's something you need to take into consideration in anything that you do, being customer service, being digital marketing, being which is the best channel to reach to the best customer at the best time, which are the fundamental of marketing, but sometimes which are forgot by company.
I've seen you in many events as a speaker. I've seen you in podcasts. So I'm sure that you have like different practical examples in real life. So I'd love to hear something more practical from your experience, like an initiative that you led, maybe with your team, that transformed the customer journey. Maybe if you can give us an example on how it worked.
So we had so many initiatives, right, which are happening as a level of our group. We are managing more than 100 brands. We have 100 websites and we have 750 stores. So that's very difficult to find one specific example. But something that comes to my mind very easily, it's when we finally, as a group, had the opportunity to have a clean database of all our customer data. That was a game changer. First reason for that is that in the region, you don't have huge market company as you have in APAC, in Europe, in US, when everybody can tell you the typical lady in France, which is between 15 and 25. That's what she likes. That's the number of orders she can do on e-com every month. That's the proportion of buying, which is for luxury, for beauty, for fashion. And then you have this trend that you can observe. As again, the GCC is super advanced, but in the same time not super mature, because that's topics which are extremely new. Nobody has those kind of data. But us as a huge group dealing with so many brands, we are very lucky because we have a lot of data we can consolidate. And it was a huge project to make the huge data cleansing of our 2 million customers and really differentiate what are the one-shot customers because they are tourists, what are the customers which are really living here, what are their age, what are the gender, what are the nationalities, again, especially in UAE, right, when we have all the nationality of the world that are coming here, and really to try to get patterns, right? Because of course you have data, but you need time also, right, to be able to analyze and get interesting patterns that you can really try to deep dive. And I think for me that was one of the most interesting projects that we work as a group, because as of today, when it comes to luxury, knowing that Chalhube is a partner with prestigious groups like LVMH, like EssilorLuxottica, OTB Group, etc., we now have patterns. And we know if for a fashion luxury brand, 1% is a good conversion rate or not. We know that for this kind of high-end, very ultra high-end, aspirational luxury brand, what is a normal AOV that we should expect in fashion and in beauty. So that's for me the most interesting part, because if you're working in a silo and you're only working with a brand, and if you don't have any comparison and any market study that you can understand, right? But you're advancing blindly. So for me, that's really important to always come back to the data at a point of time and understand. Today, I'm a beauty brand, I'm selling perfume, and I'm having a AOV of 200. But is it great according to the average of the other brand which are similar to me? Is it great versus the best in class? And then it helps you, right, to fine tune your strategy and to make sure that you're taking the right decision. And one of the most beautiful examples, that I have for this is 3 years ago. Again, because e-com was still very new, the concept of buy now pay later was also very new in the region. And we met the CEO of Tabi, Hossam Arab, which is an amazing person. And Chalhube invested into Tabi, right? So we knew that Tabi will be one of the first unicorn of the region 3-4 years before. And we decided as one shot to go with all our franchisee managed company on buy now pay later, and we see a huge uplift in our sales. But then with joint venture, we had to talk to each of them one by one to convince them. And they were not convinced, because if you talk to the HQ in US, in Europe, buy now pay later cannot match with luxury experience, right? But we really wanted to make them understand, okay, forget anything that you have seen in the world. GCC is very different, and this is something you cannot miss. Because we have some brands which are not now having 20, 30, 40% of their payment method through buy now pay later, not anymore with Visa, MasterCard, cash, etc. So that's a big missed opportunity, right? That you are facing. And we try to convince the joint venture, but every time you talk joint venture, it's region, it's HQ, there's a lot of layer, a lot of people. And then I had the opportunity to work with someone extremely brilliant in the HQ of one of our maisons. And we put everything into our reporting and dashboarding tool. And then we were showing them not feelings, but facts that, look, this payment method is really something. Help us to convince your brand. You will see an uplift of 20 to 30% of your sale before the end of the year. And that's exactly what happened. So for me, that's a beautiful example that trying to understand your customer, being willing to adapt your strategy and be flexible if it's worth it, and take risk and move on to adopt a new technology, new processes, new concept that maybe in other parts of the world will have not been a great idea, but definitely in some of the region are a game changer.
That's a good example. If we go to the other side, what do you think, whether companies, whether in UAE or other markets, what do you think, I'd say like mistakes they would do when it comes to omnichannel strategies, for example? If you can have an example or...
I think for me, it's something that I mentioned before, which is the biggest mistake I've seen and I'm still seeing, right? It's trying to think that the leader in your organization, which is going to bring to you an omnichannel strategy, is the CIO or the CTO. That's a big mistake. Because for me, then there is a huge conflict of interest in the choice of technology, in the choice of priority, in the choice of the number of investment. And I think also that giving that to a CFO, it's a big mistake. I will give it to someone from the business. So either you have a chief omnichannel officer, as we have in our group, we are lucky, or you decide that you have someone which is dealing with anything related to purely business, and you ask this person to provide your omnichannel strategy. And what was the expectation? Today I'm doing 90% retail, 10% e-com. I want to reach 80-20 within the next 3 years. I want to have a perfect understanding of my customer that either online or offline, they have the same experience, we have the same knowledge, and we know exactly what they want to do, and we can get a nice personalization. I'm willing to have AI to help me to better manage my stock and my understanding of this customer to be able to better serve him, whatever the channel. So I think that's the biggest mistake. And that's someone coming from tech which is telling you that. I think it's really not a good idea to put the ownership of tech or digital project to tech or digital people. It has to come from the business. This is how you can make sure that you maximize the sales, top line and bottom line. You're sure that you have the best KPI for your organization, and you are sure that you have the best adoption because the business is driving what they want to have.
I just thought about something you mentioned earlier about ChatGPT, Google Gemini. Now we want to shift the focus to AI. But speaking again about omnichannel, how do you think like AI would shape the future of omnichannel strategies? What do you think about that?
So in my job, I had the opportunity to meet a lot of startups. I think maybe one or two every week for the last 4 years. Or startup or younger organization, especially in the region, and SleekFlow was one of them. So for me, I think that I'm seeing companies starting to really enter this concept, but I don't see one which is full-fledged on it and having the A to Z spectrum which is needed, I think, to be extremely successful. But for me, when it comes to AI and omnichannel, the very easy and straight answer is personalization. When you are in GCC, we always talk about localization, and I think that's normal that we talk about this because it's everything about localization. The only brand, maison, retailer which are coming from abroad and which are successful are the one that plays the game of localization, understanding the market. Fast delivery was an example. Having a customer service which is strong with different dialect of Arabic and which are used to deal with VVVIP customer. The Arabic language and the right use of the Arabic language, and this translated into the digital and brick and mortar marketing strategy that you have. I think that is definitely key. AI, I think it's definitely personalization. And that's very interesting, right? Because you can capture a lot of things on a website that you cannot capture in a store, right? So now we have, for example, camera which are on the roof of your store, and then you can understand the path of your customer and where is he saying more, etc., etc. But the number of information you have online is so interesting because you know from where your customer is coming from. Is it from an ad? Is it from Google? Is it from Insta? Is it from Snapchat, right? How long did he stay on your website? What are all the different things that he was clicking? And then you can understand the preferences, right? And being able to capture as much as information as you can on a website, and then being able to translate them both in a store by giving those precious information to a sales associate, but also online to be able to personalize the experience of anyone coming on your website and automatically proposing the right category, being shoes, ready to wear, accessories, the color that this person is looking, adapting also his habits. We know that this customer is always buying cold clothes, right? On the winter clothes, I would say, when it comes to winter, because he's used to go to Europe in the winter. That's the key information, right? Then you will push this kind of trench of jacket that you know will be more interesting for this person. So you can go extremely far in the personalization. And the personalization, for me, it's the best use case for AI. And when it is luxury, every customer which is coming to us, right? When you go to Louis Vuitton, when you go to Dior, when you go to Fendi, you know that you will pay an expensive but with high quality product, but you're also paying the experience, and you want to be treated as you're unique, being in the store, being online, being on the app. And personalization, for me, it's really helping to make the customer feel that he is unique and that the maison, the brand, the concept wants to take care of him or her.
I personally see a lot of trends, a lot of technologies online, like drone delivery, for example, or any other technologies. I think it's very, very inspiring. But I'd love to hear from your side. Like, what do you think, specifically in retail, what do you think the emerging technologies that would really shape the future of retail? If you can give us some examples.
So drone, we heard a lot about drones, but we don't see it really starting. I think that the next thing you are going to see in Dubai, and I think that Dubai is a market which is great for testing.
Yeah.
We are going to see more and more delivery with self-driving car. That's my assumption, because I think that they are doing some tests for the taxi now, right, to be without driver, and I think the next step will be for the delivery. That's for me the next step that I see. On our side, right, we were of course aware of the drone trend, but that's not something we decided to invest. What we decided to invest is get a fleet which is fully electrical, and we have a commitment to get 100% in the coming years. It was also, as I said, to get the fastest delivery possible. Today we are doing 2 hours delivery in Dubai, which is extremely interesting. And we are opening a very big distribution center in Riyadh that will be called Tawarid, and it will be having a huge part of the facility which is automated.
Okay.
And this is where we are seeing tangible results, right? Because the more automation you have, the faster you can be. And then you need less manpower, and then you can make sure that the manpower which are still in the warehouse can work really on value-added task. So that's the kind of shift that I'm seeing, and that I see more and more in the coming years in the region.
Coming to the execution part specifically, you mentioned about ROI, AOV, etc. But what would you think would be other success metrics that you measure when investing in technology? Is it like customer satisfaction? How do you measure that? If you can give us some examples as well.
Yeah, but so it depends the technology that you do and the approach that you have, right? If you are doing a technology which is ultimately increasing your ENPS and your reputation with a brand, that's definitely what you're going to measure. If it's more a feature that you want to enhance on your website, according to the feature, you will look at increasing the average order value or the UPT or the conversion rate, especially at checkout. So there's different phase in the customer journey, and the understanding is which phase you want to invest more. Is it the conversion? Is it the consideration? Is it the advocacy? And making sure that according to this phase, the metrics will make sense. But what I can tell you is that, having said that, which is very theoretical, the reality is that there's 2 metrics that each and every business are looking in the region and maybe in the world: top line and bottom line. How can I maximize my sales? Yeah. So what everything that I can do to make sure that I maximize my sales at the end of the year, and how can I make sure that my bottom line is still profitable, and that because it's my cash, my net margin is as big as possible by reducing my expenses, etc. That's the most important. And from one location to another, it might change, right? In our case, we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar company with so many investments, so many brands, so many teams. And of course, there is key decision taken. There is huge investment. There is smaller investment. But the reality is that since 2 years, we are much more cautious in our investment, and we are really trying to understand how this will bring value. So for sure, when it's compliance, you have to do it, and there is no question. But what is the value that this will bring? And then you have many metrics that you can take into consideration. But ultimately, you don't want to lose any money, so you will always look at the impact on the top and bottom line.
Mm-hmm. For these metrics, in order to maximize them, or also like basically achieve KPIs for your team, for example, which strategies do you focus on, or do you use basically to keep your team adaptable, especially in UAE? Everything is fast and customer expectations are always changing. So which strategies you focus on?
Okay, so on this one, the answer will be very far from technology and and omnichannel. For me, what I learned, I was lucky because thanks to Chalhube, I did an MBA in Harvard Business School 2 years ago, and the program was named Program for Leadership Development. And I think that the best way to keep your team motivated, of course, you need a smart objective. You need to understand is it pass, is it fail, etc. But sometimes it's even if your goal is very smart, it can be very subjective because yet there is what you can achieve and what you're supposed to achieve, and then there is a result of the market, and there is so many factors that can impact those KPIs positively or negatively. So I think first thing is to be a leader which is taking that into consideration, right? And for me, it's 90% of what we do is not technology, is not omnichannel, is not data. It's human being, right? That's what I was saying at the beginning. It's people management.
Yeah.
And I think that to keep your team motivated, you have just to show them that you're not just a captain which is taking decision. We are all on the same boat. We are all together. You have to make sure that the direction is understood by everyone, that everybody is going in the same direction. And that's a win-win relationship when you help them and they help you. And be able to step back according to the situation, to think about what you did, to reflect, and to not think that you have all the answer, and that if you have a team of talent, is for them to give you the answers also. And always trying to be positive in anything that we do. I think that will be with all humility, the small recipe for a successful team, project, and company.
Yeah, I love to hear that. I hope, we had someone from your team to give us to
see if I'm saying bullshit or not.
But that's great to hear. Thank you. And I just remembered earlier you mentioned about Snapchat, TikTok, and other channels. This is always changing, but in the next 3-5 years, which channel you think, or innovation as well, you think would dominate the market? Maybe.
No, for me, I see for sure it will be any LLM platform, right? Being ChatGPT, Gemini, DeepSeek, I don't know. But for sure, a huge part for me of the channel we will be all using will be that, right? Because the experience will be extremely smooth.
Yeah.
Think about it, right? Like as of today, you want to buy a bag from Louis Vuitton or a perfume for Dior. That's so easy to go directly to the website, and that's so natural, right? But I think in the world of tomorrow, when nobody will be using the search of Google that we use today, right? Or asking to anyone, that will be so convenient, right? To say, I'm going to an event, or I'm going to travel, etc., and to have your discussion that you have with ChatGPT every day. And honestly, I'm talking more to ChatGPT than anyone, I think, every day. To say, by the way, I'm asking already a lot of questions, and sometimes I have the frustration, right? Because I would love that they propose me exactly what I want.
Yeah.
And that I'm able to buy it, right? So because today they are proposing me to buy something, but that I have to go to the website, etc. So for me, that's not smooth. But if I can just select, buy, deliver, and pay directly on this platform, that will be a game changer. So I think here there is something which is going to happen, where maybe website will still exist, but maybe it will be more back-end website than front-end website. And you will have a centralized platform, a little bit as a marketplace, but much more powerful, when you will be able to shop a lot of things super quickly and super fast. And again, this is having a huge complexity when it comes to payment. Yeah. I talked to someone a few weeks ago, which is really working on this part of all the payment, which is secure and linked to those kind of big platform. But for me, that's definitely the next thing we are going to see.
To summarize, Aurélien, if you can just give us a resource like a book or a podcast. You mentioned earlier about Steve Jobs. So just something that is related to AI, omnichannel, something that leaders can also get inspired from.
We read the book very recently, but I'm sorry, I don't remember the author. But you can find the book through the name, which is Digitally Curious.
Okay.
And I found the approach of the book extremely interesting because it's addressed to a very wide audience, people which are very techie and people which are not at all techie. And it reminds us, right, that technology is moving so fast.
Yeah.
And me, I'm only 37, only. But I've seen so many change, and I know that even the Gen Z, I've seen so many change, and it's going faster and faster. And we have a lot of things which are coming every day, which are new every day. If you work in the field of technology, that's crazy. The number of things which are coming, it's overwhelming, honestly. But I see it really going in the right direction. And I think that what I really love to observe is when a technology starts to be adopted by the maximum of people. And I think we still have a lot of topics which are not adopted by the maximum of people. Crypto and Bitcoin is still very broad for the majority of the people, but I think that everybody should be extremely interested about that. That just as an example. But the Digitally Curious, yes, is focusing on the AI piece, by the way. And yes, I think AI is extremely important. I'm not saying you have to use ChatGPT or whatever every day. The most important for me is that you really understand how AI is built. What is the concept of this artificial intelligence, artificial brain, of machine learning, of data? I really think that people which are not interested about that today will be in trouble in 5, 10, 15 years. And of course, I'm the one which is thinking that we will never be replaced by AI. I'm convinced of that. But I'm convinced also that a lot of people using AI will be replacing a lot of people not using AI. This, I'm also convinced about that, and not in 15 years, in the next 2-3 years.
Aurélien, thank you so much for joining us today. It was really a pleasure. And again, each time I hear you speak, I get more clarity about omnichannel, AI, automation, and that's really a pleasure. And I'm sure our audience would also think the same. So thank you for your valuable insights again. And thank you everyone for listening today and to make it on our first ever episode. And see you next episode.